president is present. Vice president?
Present.
Treasurer? Commissioner? Treasurer, let's see, softball commissioner, member at large.
Here. Present.
Okay. Did everybody get a chance to look at the minutes, previous minutes?
No, they sure didn't.
I know.
Because the secretary didn't get them out.
So we will not vote on those minutes.
Okay, I promise. They're done, I just never emailed them.
I guess we can vote on them next meeting, is that okay? Way to go.
I'm sorry.
I honestly just realized I didn't read the minutes myself. I'm like, did you forget me in the email? All right, on to the president's report. All right. Our fall season is almost complete. All in all, just some minor complaints this year, as seem like just the same ones as the year in the past. You know, there's always going to be a few unhappy parents. But all in all, I think our coaching's doing well, and I think the fall has been a success for the most part. I've even seen some teams that I thought had no chance of developing players make some really good strides this year. Good thing about umpiring is I get to see a lot of the games, and I'm there a lot, and I've seen some good things this year. So let's keep it going in the right direction. Some other good stuff. I have a parent that decided to step up, and her name is Christy Greenspan, and in the past she's done a lot of like corporate silent auctions and stuff like that, and she's putting together hopefully a nice silent auction for our opening night. So I've already, given her the letterhead and stuff that Amy emailed me, and she's got all the tools, all our league information, and so she's grabbing the reins on that, and hopefully she'll get some good prizes that we can, hopefully have some cool things to raffle off and make a little money on that part also. One thing I personally going to do because of my background this off season is I'm going to take a deep look into the concession stand. I believe there's so much more money to be made and so much more to offer the people at the ballpark, and I feel like we can put ourselves in a better situation if we can get that thing right. So keep your eyes and ears open. I'm not firing anybody or anything, but we need to really put the right people in place and get that thing back on track. I've just seen a lot of missed opportunities to make revenue.
We want everybody to understand that the concession stand is there to help offset a lot of these costs that happen throughout the season. One of them is umpire pay. I believe we have come a long, long way with umpires. It's gotten better every season. We've got a lot of veteran umpires now, and a lot of the pay for the umpires does come from the dividend of the concession stand. So we just want to make sure that everybody understands why this is so important.
All right. Another avenue that I would like to want our social media friends. I want you to see. I would like to put an ad out and get someone in to start selling and advertising for us. Sponsor banners at the park. We need to come up with a plan. I mean, a volunteer would be great, but even if we had to, put them on commission, I'm fine with that, you know, but
I know we did put an advertisement out before looking for someone, so I will
yeah, let's redo it. Let's see if, you know, we can get it going, because I think we're missing the boat on that big time. You know, I go to Phipps and all that stuff, and I'm seeing lots of, you know, money being made out there.
Yeah.
So something that we need to get going again. I think we can really tap into some good stuff there. Let's see, another issue. I can do it, or one of you guys. I knew we need to pass on to Jessie, who's done a phenomenal job with the schedule this year. I think this is just, she's done great. It's been amazing. You can't schedule board members on games on Tuesday nights.
Yes.
Practices is one thing, but games, we need them here. There's too many important stuff, especially the commissioner. You know, he's at the field a lot, so I need his information on board meetings. I gotta have it. So if we can reach out to Jesse and just for the spring, make sure Tuesday nights are free for board members. Last thing is Field 5 close down dates. You needed 30 days, correct, Steve?
Yeah.
So December 9th to January 8th, do you think that would work, or see if we can get it approved, or?
December 9 to January 8.
Yes.
I will, I'll check. I'll check on that tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Shouldn't be an issue, but.
Awesome. And then I guess we'll do the odds and evens thing with the other fields.
Right.
All right. All right, that's all the president's got. Vice President? I'll do it all at the end.
Okay. I got a few different things to talk about. One of them is communication with everybody about the field changes or the weather. Apparently, I guess this Saturday, I get it. We try to do whatever we can to get all the games in, and that's great. There's a lot of hard work from the village. It's a lot of hard work from everybody up here trying to switch stuff around, but I guess there was an issue with the umpires. I didn't know about the field changes. I know Miguel was trying to do what he could to make things work, but we have to be on the same page with that because there is an umpire that apparently tried to go to the right field and was told to get off the field. That'll be something that we handle off to the side, but I just want to make sure that everybody, tries to be on the same page. I know we try our best, but, sometimes some things go under the radar, but with weather like that, we need to make sure that everybody's communicating.
Just something I want to add. I think for the spring, what we need to do is we need to have one of the board members or somebody at the fields at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. The only day of the week, because to really get a handle on everything, you have to go to the field and talk to the guys that are working on the fields. They're the ones that are gonna, tell you what's real, the reality of how long it's gonna take to get those fields ready, and what avenue or what field. Hey, I need 2 hours on this field. Those are the guys that are gonna do it. So the earlier, 7 a.m. I think is a good time. Just one of us. Every week we alternate. Someone else does it. But I think it's something we got to put do for the spring. One other thing too, I forgot to say this in my report. I want to give props to Danny and Mr. McDonald over there who have been working on our fields. I stop by about 3 times a week and talk to them, and and they've gotten those. Me personally, I haven't seen the fields that good in a long time. Ever since you guys brought them back to that field, to the Willows. So don't send them somewhere else. Leave them on the fields.
Except to Farron.
Yes. Danny, he knows what he's doing over there. And he's done. I was there one day. On my way there, it monsooned there for 5 minutes. I mean, it poured. And I thought for sure those fields were going to be underwater. I looked at those fields. There wasn't one puddle where every field had its problem. Like field 1, home plate was a mess. Field 4, first base, third base, and shortstop was always a puddle. Field 2, right by second base, right by first base, always a puddle. So we always knew where all our puddles were on the fields. It poured there. The only places I saw rain were off to the sides of the field where we don't play on. But they got the playing surfaces on those fields. Field 1, there was no water on it. I haven't seen that in ages. So just give them props. We appreciate their hard work, and they've done a great job over there. So, all right, I'm done. Sorry.
Mike Hogg. Just kidding. On to equipment. We're good with baseballs and softballs to the end of the season, so there's no need to purchase any more there. Equipment turn-in. Since I've been on for a full year now, I continuously see an issue with equipment turn-in at the end of the season. I'm not sure exactly what the program is. I understand that they're supposed to, give a check up front, and then if they don't turn it in, we cash that check. Now, as far as following that process and how strict we are held to it, I'm not sure, but I do know that once again, we are short on equipment. I do understand that as a program, we are growing, and especially in the spring, it's going to be even bigger. But we need to develop a new program starting in spring and figure out what we're going to start from point A to point B. And hold these managers accountable. I know a lot of these managers do have their own gear, and I understand that, but the ones that we are lending out, I know in the spring, last spring, we bought 5 to 6 full sets of catcher's equipment. I do understand that a lot of this equipment goes bad, and it gets worn through, and we do need to replace as we go. There is a gentleman that approached me from his son plays on my T-ball team. He is a member of the Elks Lodge, I believe is what it's called. And they have a lot of equipment. So I am going to go get that equipment. We'll bring it back. And after fall ends, I would like to get together, go through this equipment with multiple people, including Dave Mancuso, who is our equipment manager, and figure out where we stand going into spring. With that also being said, we want to rearrange the equipment room. So we are going to clean that out. I would like to come up with a date as well. I would like everybody to be involved if they can. I get it, we're going into the holidays and everybody's got their own stuff going on, but the quicker we do it, the better off we'll be for spring. Also, do we have the date for the managers meeting for spring by chance? Yes? No? Maybe?
Oh, wait, I did do it, yes.
It's already on the website too.
February 1st. Okay, the reason I asked that is because I want Danny present for that meeting. I want him to go into depth a little bit about some specific rules for each division. Just as an example.
Danny, our umpire.
Danny, yep. Just as an example for 10U, we're still having an issue with the taunting rule. I mean, it's clear and concise, but I think if he's there, that also gives the manager some opportunity to ask questions about or other rules. Another example, down in T-ball, you're not supposed to put your hands on the kids, send them to the next base. Just little small things like that. We also need to come up with a date for an umpire clinic. Is it?
No. Did I put it on there? No, I know. No, it's not.
Games start on the 22nd of February, right? So I'll get with Danny and we'll get that posted earlier, because earlier the better. We do not. So I will get with Danny and try to get one scheduled. The earlier the better. That way we can post it on the website and have it out there, especially for our younger generation of umpires. And I would also like to talk about board members being present for the presentation of trophies for fall. For the last 2 seasons, it has been Amy and myself, or just Amy. I think it would look good for the league if we can have as much there as possible. I understand there is game conflict sometimes and other things as well, but if we can get together for the presentation.
We could get a list of dates.
Most of them are going to be over on Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday coming?
Well, I
Some
don't.
people end on Monday, some people end on Tuesday.
Yeah, it depends on whether or not you
Yeah.
win or lose.
If you don't make it to championship weekend, then you've already got your trophies.
And then I think also T-ball had, their last game was supposed to be this Saturday, but I think it's going to be next week because we rescheduled. There's 3 games that got to be made up, and
So, I'm gonna jump in real quick. Me and Kyle actually had a conversation on the phone. I heard from people in the past that they used to do a closing ceremonies. I don't know how it was explained to me is that on the last Saturday or the Saturday after the games end, you set times. So like from 9 to 10 would be T-ball, 10 to 11 is minors and so forth. You do it in age order, and all those teams come and then they cheer on as the coach comes up and presents the trophies. And then all the board members are there. All the board members are there, and we can help present the trophies. And I would like to also maybe not necessarily do like the plaques that we give to board members after they leave or someone that's done, amazing things at our park, but just like maybe some paper certificates that you get cardstock and print them to give to like coach of the year, volunteer of the year, and then have like an actual, I feel like people would probably do more and help more. And I know it sounds kind of crappy, but people tend to do more and volunteer more when they think they're going to get something out of it. It just in general, it's there's no way around it. So I think that would be something, not obviously for this fall because it's too soon, but maybe for spring, figure out maybe a Saturday that we can do an end of ceremonies, and we could, something like that, to where each team is there, they get to celebrate the other teams' accomplishments, and each division has their coach of the year and blah, blah, blah.
so what I would do is have at the next workshop, I don't know if we want to have one like right after the season ends, just so we can maybe incorporate something like that in the spring, but at least for the fall, have the board present for a presentation of trophies, and then time being, come up with some ideas that maybe you would like to see or how we would go about doing it. But Mine was just for this fall, but that is a great idea. And that's it for me.
So on the workshop list, we need a closing ceremony planning. Yes.
Slash awards.
Brickett, I have, as far as what you're thinking about the closing ceremonies, I think if we got, this is just something to think about, and it has to go to a workshop, but I think if we try to do like a specific day for that, we might run into the opening night chaos and the parking and the people going and people coming and all that. But if we got with the scheduler and each division finished on a different night, then we could be there and give out.
Yeah, but then you don't have all the teams there. That's why I was saying do T-ball from 9 to 10. So they're leaving as minors are showing up, or, because they'll be from 10 to 11. Like it'll, so T-ball won't even be there when 12U's there. You know what I mean? Like those parents are already be gone. So we shouldn't run into a parking issue.
Yeah, that's why I said.
Workshop.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a workshop topic, and then we all can chime in.
Table that for the workshop.
Yep.
Remember those? Table it.
Treasurer's report.
I got one thing for Miguel. He reached out to the 10U parent. Had a long conversation with her today. Explained her side of the story, but it's just one of those yearly issues that, to me, honestly, I think that those coaches are doing a great job. He said he thought the same thing, and the parent, they haven't taught their kid how to slide. I mean, my opinion is I umpire a lot of their games. The kid's not very good. So they're trying to keep him safe and do the best thing for him and for the team. Yes. So if these coaches didn't care and were just in it for whatever, I would be more concerned. But I think these coaches, this team has actually done a great job it was one of those teams I was nervous about, but they've come through and done a great job. And I honestly think that the mom is going to be mad regardless, and she said she's going to go play at Gardens next year, and I'm like, it happens every year. There's always people that are going to leave, and there's people that are going to come. So we're never going to make everybody happy. If I was hearing a lot of bad things out there, which I'm not, I mean, I've been reaching out to Miguel and Glenn, who are the communicators out there and see everything out there, and I haven't heard a lot at all, you know. So if there's unhappy people, I don't see them, you know. And
If they're that unhappy,
yeah,
they'll be here.
yeah, where are they, you know? So as far as I think that situation's been dissolved, but we are going to keep an eye on that game. If she does get rowdy again and, you know, and is making scenes, we are going to ask her to leave the park. And that's where it was left at. So that's all he had.
No.
I can go. So, right now. So right now, we have about $1,600. And the concession stand is just killing us. And I'm wondering though, like there's no money like, you know, being gone in the accounts or anything, but I was looking today. I've never used the site where the Blue Sombrero, and like they say, the Blue Sombrero reports say like, you know, we for this since like August, we had like $40,000 of player registration, but from Blue Sombrero we've only got like $20,000 of deposits. And they say, like, for example, like I have them here month by month. Like it says in September we had $6,417 of checks. People paid in checks. I've got like $100 of checks. So I'm wondering if
Some of it, if it says check, it might be cash too.
okay, maybe.
Because there's not a cash option.
Yeah, no.
But there's not a cash option. It just
That
says
would make
check.
sense, 'cause
But if you look in there, like if there's a note, I always put a note. Like if it was a check, I'd put the check number. If it was cash, I would put cash in where it says the note.
Yeah, I saw
So,
that. I saw that. But I'm wondering if there's somehow some money stuck in like Blue Sombrero. I know there used to be another account that only Birch had access to. Maybe some money somehow, you know, I don't know how Blue Sombrero, couldn't find out how Blue Sombrero splits it up. But it seems that compared to what Blue Sombrero says, compared to what we received, there's a huge difference. And that would make sense, because usually just since, say, the last, 5-6 seasons, almost every year, we have zero money and we go to 40 grand and we start. This year we never made it above 28. And I thought that was kind of, you know, I don't know, I didn't know how much the discounts were, but I had that total. It was like $4 grand, so that wouldn't be the whole amount of money. But so that's where we're at when it comes to that. And the concession stand lately has been killing us.
Keith,
That's both accounts?
Yeah.
I got
Well,
2 questions. One is, with you being the financial accountant,
come on, let's go. Yeah.
what is it, treasurer? Someone on this board needs to show you how you access the whatever's on Blue Sombrero you're talking about.
Oh, I got it. Yeah, I got
Okay,
it.
because as far as I'm thinking, if there's money, you should be able to see it and have access to it and know what's going on with it.
Well, see, Blue Sombrero deposits every Tuesday. So far as I thought, you know, they just maybe I don't know, maybe she's writing the cash, maybe that's in there, I'm not sure.
I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? Make sure that before spring, that there's nothing you don't know and don't have access to, because it's tying one hand behind your back. You know what I'm saying?
I know there's a spot on Blue Sombrero where it says our bank account information, because I've seen it because I have access to everything. I've never touched it, but it only shows one account.
Okay.
So I don't, It just shows the one
And,
account.
and the other thing is, what do you mean the concession stand is killing us? What's that definition?
It's just not making as
More
much
money's
money.
going out than coming in. They're buying more food and
It's
products and
costing us
stuff
money to run the concession stand.
and paying people than we're making in food profit.
But Keith, wouldn't it, even if it got entered incorrectly as, checks versus cash or whatever the case may be, it should eventually balance itself out, correct?
I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Because usually what'll happen is, I can't really explain it, but usually, so Blue Sombrero puts in every Tuesday. I put that straight to like player registration. Payment Tech deposits every night, which is our credit card machine. During, like signups, that might not be concession money. It might be player registration. So usually I'll take however many people we have and, I just move the money. So, maybe it is cash in there. It's just, we just didn't deposit it with cash, like with the sponsored checks and stuff, but I don't think so.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like something's adding up correctly, because from what I understand, this was the first season that we didn't have to go find sponsors for everybody. Like, everybody paid up front. It sounded like we hit, the beginning of the season off
I don't even know.
running.
I don't know if all those checks were deposited or not.
I just deposited like four or five
I
of
know
them.
you did the other day, but I don't know if that's like every team. What I'm saying is like I'm assuming.
Now, are you saying like we're showing like that's what we're going to end at $1,600, or are you saying like, is that like with trophies and everything already paid for?
We have $1,600 right now.
And that's with everything paid.
No,
That's
no,
with
it's
nothing
not
paid
everything
for.
paid.
That's nothing paid for.
And I'll promise you, bank account wise, like there's no weird stuff going on. I mean, I see that every day. Now, the concession stand, I don't know, and I by no means do I think like Megan or anything, but I don't know, But let's put it this way: on a slow day, on a slow Saturday, we usually make $1,500 cash. Last two Saturdays we made $300 and $600. I mean, that's so low. It's nuts. That's the difference that we're dealing with. But still buying stuff. So this week.
Wow.
So this week I'm trying to get everyone out except the Megan. I don't by no means think is stealing, and the lady Jenny. But no people doing community service, no pay, and just if y'all want to, whatever, me or my kids, whatever. But I'm getting everyone out of there this week to see if there's a difference, because I don't know. I don't know what else to do right now, because we're still spending like October 1st, October 15th. We spend like $6,000 in like BJ's and wherever else they go. But okay. 4 Saturdays ago was a good day. Like I'd say $1,300, which is still low but decent. 400 or 500 in credit card sales. The next Saturday was 300 in cash. I don't remember the credit card sales. The next one was a rain out, and last week was 600 cash and 500 credit card sales. That's just Saturdays, which that's weird because usually cash is like 4 times the amount of credit card. On average, $50 credit card, you have 200 cash, something like that.
I think, and I'm the guy, I think in the next couple months, we need to reestablish, revamp, reorganize the whole concession theory.
Yeah, I already put that in my.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And
And there is some other sorry to cut you off, but stupid spending, like buying stuff that I don't think we need. There's some other things too. I'm not saying that's not the reason. $600 isn't the reason. We're low, but I'm just saying there's other things like that too. I think using the money more wisely on what we're buying and stuff like that, I think can be done. I'm not saying I have an answer for it or whatever. I'm not saying I'm great at it. I'm just saying I think we could do. I've seen a couple things that I think was a waste and stuff like that. So.
I have a quick question, Keith. Do you have it broke down to where like you can compare like spending habits last fall versus this fall, or like payroll versus last year versus payroll this year?
Payroll will be way down, but yes, I do have that. So just Now, believe me, today, I literally, I get to go back to work like 4 hours because I did this today. So, just, I'm not saying we can do it right now, but I have, in the last 4 or 5 seasons, the play registration. I have the difference, I have, fall 19, spring 19, fall 18, I have that. Now, as for spending and stuff, I have my, I didn't print anything out. I didn't get to print anything.
But you have it on like on a
But
file.
I have it right here. I
Okay.
can do anything we want when it comes to purchases and stuff. The only thing I have to be careful about is say, some things are daily. Some things are daily, and it's hard to explain if you don't. But let's just say at the end of on June 1st, spring's done. I go and I enter all the sales of cash sales and stuff for the concession stand. If I run a report in April, that won't show up because on June 1st, I did all the month. So now I can see
You have to do year end, basically.
Yeah, but now I can see cash purchases. I can see cash purchases, stuff like that. I can tell that because to me, and Megan's done because the one I think it was middle of October, and we were getting kind of low, and I was just like, there was like $3,000 spent in 10 days, and I was like, it kind of blew my mind, and so I called her, and she had to go the next day. And again, I'm not blaming her. I'm just saying is, what we're buying and stuff, what we're bringing in, and I don't know why. I don't know if, I know it seems dumb, but can coupons be used? A cheaper place be used? I don't know. But something's different in the last 2 months, in the last 3 years that I've, seen.
Okay,
Something's different.
what I would like to say, what I would like for us to get together and do is, and I live this, we need spreadsheets to track registration, sponsors, uniforms, the extra ones I'm talking about, where you have extra coaches, you buy extra things.
Yep.
We need some income spreadsheets that we can compare about 2 weeks after the season started to make sure these teams have all paid, these sponsors have all paid, because I haven't seen that organization yet. And I can see stuff slipping through the cracks. And it would be so much easier if, just like we had on a spreadsheet, the managers, the player, that we track this stuff. And as they pay it, it gets updated on a date, whatever. So when we come to monthly meetings, here's the status of registrations. Here's the status of sponsors. These are the ones we're missing. So then we talk to the manager. You know what I'm saying? Because we're at the end.
Well, we have a list of another list.
We're
of
at the
sponsors
end, and I haven't seen any tracking of anything.
But Lexi said that all our sponsors paid.
Yeah, but
that was
I'm
tracked.
talking I don't even care. It's Lexi. Lexi needs to input that stuff needs to be on so we it's numbers. That's all it's all numbers. You could have one sponsor not pay, and that's have three, and that's, what is that? $1,000. You know what I'm saying? The point is, we're not tracking anything. Apparently, I'm not saying you're not doing your job. I'm saying you're not giving the information. You understand what I'm saying? You're not getting the information, and we're trying to do it off our memories because my wife's the same way. Amy's running around crazy. Oh, we got, dropping off. You know what I'm saying? But there needs to be something in place that tracks this, or we're going to be chasing our tails, and here we're the end of the season, and we got $1,400.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not saying it's good or bad, on top of fixing what's going on with the concession that you covered at the meeting before I got here. There needs to be some tracking.
Now, I'm not trying to be an a-hole, but just what would that do? With play registration, we get paid, it goes in the bank, stuff like that. So one thing I did want to do out of curiosity was I was going to take how many softball we had and the total cost. Say there's 20 girls and it costs us $10,000. I was going to see how much it costs per player. I can do that now, but just the sponsorship, I know it's Lexi, whatever. If someone was keeping track of that. So the play registration,
I'm just saying. Then the question about
The food and everything that's purchased, do you not get those receipts?
a lot of it. I'll be honest. I don't. If they pay with a card, I don't want a receipt because I mean,
He can track it online.
now, granted, yes. Would it be good to look to make sure they're not buying a TV? Yes, but and I'll look at that. But but honestly, usually they're all about the same. I have all the receipts. I do get them, but yes, I'm not going to look through every single one. But it is. I guess you got to kind of check to make sure she doesn't buy a ring or something while she's at BJ's. But that, we do look at that. Yeah.
Basically, what I was saying was that would stop the question of you asking, well, Bluesonboro says this, and we say that.
Yeah.
Basically, it would answer those questions, so you wouldn't have to ask them.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you could physically say, hey, listen, somewhere between here and there, we lost 30 grand.
Yeah.
I'm just using a figure, but, we've got this many. I can see they paid, but I don't see funds anywhere.
Well, see, and the other thing, too, is I'm not mean enough. I've asked back with Wendy, is certain things, and it just doesn't, because if we're depositing cash with checks, for me to guess a $5,000 deposit, what is sponsorship, what is registration, what was concession income? It's tough to know. And, so, a lot of times I would just, make 3 separate deposits or whatever, but.
I know when I was doing registration at the beginning of the season, before season even started, anything that I went and deposited, which I don't know if you can tell if it's me or not because I have a deposit only card.
Maybe. It usually gives you the last 4 digits.
Okay. So whatever my card was, that was all registration. And it was mostly like if I was there, I would take the cash and the checks with me and I would go to the bank and I would deposit them.
And you're doing registration with cash?
Right.
Okay.
Cash and checks. Because we didn't want to leave it just sitting at the
I
fields
agree.
since I was there.
I'm just trying to make sense of what you said, this check thing, because that.
Yeah, if you go into Blue Sombrero and you run the report, it'll tell you it'll say if it was a check, it'll in the notes. I always put it. I don't know that everybody did, but I know.
You and Melissa did. It's right here. Like you can see, like right here. Ed has payment from travel per Miguel.
Yeah,
but anyway,
yeah, I always put.
I did see that.
I always put those in. Also, if you need me to, I can make forms for each night. The concession has to fill out this form: checks, cash, credit card, and then.
Well, when we do this, we need to have Megan present at this, is we really need to have like a financial meeting and regroup and get more organized because I'm concerned.
I wouldn't even say have Megan present. What I would say is we do have a separate meeting for this, and if you could pull as much numbers and everything as you can, and break it down to what you can, registration versus, whatever we spend on concession stand costs versus what they brought in, try to get as much information as possible, and then we take a look at it, and then once we figure out where the issue lies, then we can go ahead with whatever needs to be done after the fact, which obviously we already know concession stand isn't bringing in what it probably used to. So that's one issue, but we also, that's a big gap. So I say we have a separate meeting on that and then determine,
And the other thing, and it sucks, but we really got to think about it, and I don't mind doing whatever, but I don't want to fight, but like Meg and Lady Jenny, if we can't pay them, I don't want to be the type of person that lets them work and then can't pay them. I'd rather say, hey, we ain't got no money, and me cover whatever we got to do. I'll do what I got to do, but I would rather than be mad that we're not giving them hours than let them work and then can't pay them. So that's something else we kind of got to think about, But anyway, the other thing too is, I don't know. I just kept hoping, I knew we didn't have all the sponsorship checks, and then you brought like $3,000 the other day, and that was awesome. And I keep hoping, I was thinking, is there a way we could push next season, where people will sign up? 2 or 3 people signed up today. That's $300-400.
If you need a sponsor check from us, I will have one by the end of the week. My dad will write a check and send it. No joke. Whenever we need it, we'll bring it.
But what I was saying was get people to sign up, registration at least. But anyway,
I opened registration. We have a gimmick right now or whatever. You get $15 off up until November 30th to try and get people to register before the mad rush in January.
I think 3 or 4 people.
By when?
Yeah, by November 30th.
There's 11, I think as of right now, 11. Well, I'll be honest, when Ed had the Willows Bash, That was awesome. I mean, that truly, we did very good, you know. And I remember the year before we had one that was good. But, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Let's
I
move
just
on.
want to add one more thing about concessions and about Megan. I believe that Megan's doing the best that she possibly can, but she has a little baby and she went back to work this year, and then she's coming to the fields to work, and she's having to have somebody shop for her. And I just think it's overwhelming for her. And I think part of the issue is that we don't have somebody to actually that has the time to sit down and do the organization and do the shopping and to help her and the menu and to help her with all of that. I just think she's overwhelmed. Not that she's not doing her job, but it's overwhelming when you're in that situation.
And again, I used not to be a jerk to her, but I would rather get someone that kind of does that and we don't have to. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying Wendy was the greatest, but what I'm saying is she did the shopping. She made sure she got the cheapest stuff.
She didn't have another job. That was her.
Yeah, no. And I'm not like down Megan, but what I'm saying is if we're having to do that to help her, then we might as well have someone that can just do it all, I guess. Whatever. I don't know.
So
and they're not paid like $5 an hour. We pay pretty good, so it's not.
So at the end of September, you guys had 24,000. You're saying you got 1,600 now?
Yes. Hold on one second. Yes. Yes. What do we pay out?
Umpires is the biggest.
Just do $1.50.
You'd be surprised how fast that adds up. I mean,
yeah, well,
that's another thing you can tell them how much you're spending in umpires every week.
Well, umpires are about 2,500 to $3,000 a week, and usually the concession stand covered that, and it's not. So I mean, I'm just saying, 3 times 4, that's $12,000. And then also don't forget we had uniforms was 18 G's. That came out 2 weeks ago. 3 people wanted a refund. That Miguel, that's $500. I know 24 sounds like a lot, but truly, 18 grand came out for the uniforms. You're right, we had 24. 18 came out for the uniforms.
No, it wasn't 18. It was
16.
Yeah.
Plus another 100. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that.
Yeah, 16. Yeah, it was a lot.
Seems like
It seems like there's just some stuff we need to put in place before April, or before spring. Let's say before spring. January, whatever.
Yeah. And I know we didn't, on the opening ceremonies, I know we didn't lose money because
No,
it wasn't that.
I think that cost us I have it separated. I think like the thing that your wife Lexi bought, the bounce house and stuff, it was under $400.
Maybe the 50% discount was a bad idea.
Well, I'll be honest. I thought so, but it was. I mean, I'll be honest. I think it was like $3,700. I mean, yes, that's a good amount of money, and we'd be higher up, but it's still compared to $36.57 was a total of the discounts.
How much?
$36.57.
Oh.
But I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, we would have $5,000, but compared in the past where we used to have 12, 15 grand at the end of a season, there's a difference. And again, I promise you, it's not like someone stealing out of the bank account. It's someone taking concession stand. I don't know that, but what I'm saying is when it comes to bank account stuff, like where, none of that is, there's nothing weird going on in the bank account.
It's stats and trends, and it's not matching up, basically.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay,
I
and
just want to make sure you
yeah.
guys know, like, it's not in our bank account stuff. Like, there's no, weird withdrawals. There's nothing. Everything's fine that way. It's just, I mean, if every night we're making $100 in the concession stand, we're making 300. That's a difference of like 1,500 during the week, and Saturdays $2-3 grand. It's a huge difference.
Yeah. We're just not making the money. I mean, I'm showing up to the concession stand for my umpire game at 5:45, and it's not open. That's the stuff that's happened.
Yeah, I was opening up field 5 tonight. My son's working it, and maybe I don't know. I'm not sure if the other one was open.
Let's move it on now. I hate to cut it out, but we gotta. Amy.
Softball's going good because of all the rainouts. It's usually Monday. It's been Mondays and Saturdays, and that's softball and t-ball night. 12U softball, anyways. So right now, a 12U game is happening at Farron, which thank you to the village for dragging that field and lining it, because the other two we went today are a hot mess. So they did a great job getting that field ready, and hopefully they'll be able to do that again tomorrow. For another makeup game, me, Steve, and Ed went and walked the fields, and there's definitely, the fields need clay. They need to be raised, and Steve is gonna talk to his higher ups, or whoever the god of the village, whoever it is, to hopefully get those fields ready for spring, so that way softball can move permanently back over to Farron, make that our home again, and then we can contribute concession stand money to, because there's a lot of things going on at Farron that we're losing money on too, as far as the concession stand. Even if we just had water and Gatorades and some chips, we could make money over there. So that's what I got for softball.
Secretary?
I don't have a report, but I have some questions. Am I allowed to ask them now? Would that be okay? Versus new business? They're just things that I noticed. One of them is like safety issues. You know those open fences, those open fence spots over by Field 5 where the fence is open, you can walk through there? Are people supposed to park there? Like when you walk over to Field 5, there's an opening over by the batting cages, and there's an opening on the other end so that you can walk to the clubhouse in the fence, and there's a parking spot there. Are people allowed to park there? So that's not like something we should be worried about keeping opening for emergency access or anything like that?
It would, if you had to keep it open for emergency, they would be signs.
Yeah.
There'd be some kind of sign.
Yeah.
It's more for during the day, so they can get the lawnmowers and field dragger and stuff like that. Which
Okay. Other question about that same area. Okay, somebody's gonna get hurt bad. There's parents sitting, kids sitting, and there's kids playing ball with hard balls in that grass area outside the batting cages and the fence from Field 5. And I've asked kids to stop, and they stop until I walk away, and then they do it again. And they're not at that point being supervised by coaches, just by their parents, and of course their parents aren't really supervising them either. But I think that's really dangerous for kids to be playing catch with hardballs when there's that many people over there. Because I saw a grandmother get hit with a ball last season. So what can we do about that? Or nothing?
1, 2, 5. 1, 2.
Yeah, that's right.
1, 2, 5.
Kids are gonna do what they're gonna do. It's a park. So
I mean, it is a baseball park. No matter where you go, there's going to be a kid throwing a ball. I mean,
I understand.
I get where you're coming from, and I do agree with it. I mean, kids need to be careful regardless. I mean, it's like kids out there swinging and hitting off a tee, watching a kid walk up behind them while they're swinging. You just have to be, you have to be careful where you're at. And unfortunately, I don't think there's anything we can say, you can't play catch here. I mean, is there, Steve?
And it's right where foul ball would hit them.
Enter at your own risk.
Yeah, I mean.
Okay, all right. And then I have questions about the tournament real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so home team for tournament. How is that being established? Who's home and who's away?
Flip a coin for seeding games.
Coin. Okay.
I mean, that's more like a discussion thing. I mean, it's kind of like known.
Know that.
Yeah.
Most coaches know that when they go up to the plate, and seeding games are always coin flips.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always.
And what are the rules for using travel players at the tournaments? Like if you don't have enough kids on your own team, say we're down and we have 8 kids, what are the rules for using travel players for the tournament?
You mean the Wood Bat tournament?
No. I'm saying for our tournament this fall.
our playoffs.
Yes.
Our tournament. I'm sorry.
Yes. What are the rules for using?
So the way we've done it in the past, and I'm pretty sure I not verbatim know what it says in the rules, but whatever player you're missing should be of equal round drafted, and you can borrow from another team.
Another team, but not a travel team.
No, basically a team that's played rec. It cannot be from.
Okay, so it has to be a rec player and equal
Yes.
talent.
They have to go that avenue. I believe we said if everything's exhausted, they can.
Can't pitch, what was it? Can't pitch or catch. The travel.
We said off the 13U travel teams, they can borrow players. Didn't we say that we can do that? But
We could do it during
it
the
just
year,
wasn't.
but I didn't know
They
if
didn't
we
couldn't
could do it during the tournament. That's the question, is it?
Still do it.
Okay.
But didn't we say they couldn't pitch or something?
It was,
Yeah.
They couldn't pitch or catch.
The way softball does it, and I don't know if you guys want to follow this or not, but the way softball does it is you can borrow from any team. They just can't play their normal position, and they can't pitch.
No, I believe we said no pitching or catching.
No pitching or catching, I remember that.
Okay,
They can borrow whoever they want, they just can't pitch or catch.
okay.
I mean, because we're not going to turn a team away just because they're short
Yeah, we're not
players. I
gonna
mean,
let them
that
forfeit.
wouldn't be the right thing to do.
No, that's why I was asking,
yeah.
like, do we borrow from another rec team, or do we?
It should be
what
rec
we
first.
do?
Yes,
Okay.
they should exhaust
Rec
that option first, and if they can't go that route, then do what you can to play, and then follow no pitching, no catching.
first. Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, village report.
Just, you all have it in front of you, the new provider agreement. Every change, which is very much, is in red. You guys can take a second to look over it if you want. I know Ed had a few things he wanted to, discuss with you guys about it. But other than that, just, once you guys are ready, just go ahead and Ed will sign it tonight and we'll go forward with it.
Holy, all these pages?
Yeah, what's it say?
No, we gotta sign all these
You
pages.
pay us 50% of everything you make, and
I wonder why we're almost in the red.
no, it's the same. There's a couple different changes, but other than that, it's no different. Non-resident fee 20%. You get the fields from this time to this time. Got to have at least however many residents, percentage of residents. You got to have for travel teams. It's got to have at least 25% residents. If you have over 51%, it's 250. If it's between 25 and 50, it's 500.
Where's this posted to where, like, if a parent had a question, they could look at it?
They'd have to do a public records request.
Okay.
Yeah. Easiest thing, just ask me, I'll send it to them.
Well, yeah, I'm calling you regardless, but just out of curiosity, if they needed to look.
Yeah.
We have to sign all these pages?
No. I mean, a lot of those things are just for you. I mean, only thing you have to sign, Ed, is page 15. Yes, 15. The rest of them are just like things for you guys to, attachments and things like that throughout this year. So, but you don't sign. I got an official one over here, Ed.
Oh, okay.
So
I can keep this?
yeah, those are all for
sweet.
you guys to keep. So,
Thank you, man. It's like my birthday.
All right, is that it, Steve?
me too, Keith.
Anything else, Steve? You good?
That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept all the reports, the president, vice president, treasurers, a little bit of the commissioners, softball, secretary, and the village report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Done. All right, old business, spring calendar complete. I think we did confirm that I believe it's the 21st. We are doing the 21st opening night. Also adding more dates like the umpires clinic and all that. We'll be doing that in the near future. Confirmation of the dates for the wood bat tournament.
Yeah, we weren't sure at the last
It's
meeting.
the flyers on the website, so it better be confirmed. But it's, yeah,
And I saw it's actually set up on that Bruce and Barrett, I saw it.
yes.
You can do it again.
Make sure you get a special event permit for that.
So do,
Just like the,
Summer bash. Well, not,
you need a pen?
yeah, I got you. What-
All right. It is, get my calendar in. It'll be the Tuesday, the 21st of January through the 26th of January.
January
21 through, actually, yeah, 26. ID badges? Is this?
That's me.
Yep.
When are we having them?
So I haven't gotten them to Steve yet.
That's
I never got anything.
Well,
I haven't gotten it done. So I'm gonna try and get the board members done before
Yeah,
next
we-
season and hope for the best. I've got everything going on.
okay.
So-
I know what the other one was sprinklers. A lot of times I
Yeah, that's on here.
I drop off late at night, and like the sprinkler until 1, like they go all night long. It can be pouring all day. It's just going, and that one's always soaked.
This is new business, by the way.
We have access to. I don't know.
No, we don't. That's all a village. It's all right.
I'm sorry. I know y'all are going by it.
New business.
Keith, you got anything?
Potential price increase for the spring. Definitely something we need to talk about.
I will have like say uniforms, trophies, stuff like that per kid. Like how much it costs per kid. I will have that.
Okay, so we'll discuss this at our financial meeting.
And baseball.
But isn't registration already open?
It
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
And you're, okay.
Well, I mean, if it's something we gotta implement in the fall, we will, but.
Yeah, it's
But,
almost, if
yeah.
she's already, because then if you charge one parent one thing and then you turn around and charge another parent, it's almost like we carded the horse.
I think 6 people have signed up, so. Mm,
As long as nobody knows.
yeah. Financial.
I mean, if we got to bite the bullet for
But nobody will know.
6 and let them know, like, hey,
Nobody
yeah.
wants this.
And we're on YouTube. Just
Board
so you know.
members, kids scholarship to play. I think we will discuss it at the financial meeting also, because. We talked about adding rules about using travel kids to sub. We just talked about that, right? Check. Sprinkler controls, just talked about that. Adding language to managers' expectations about communication with parents.
That's me, again. And the reason I write that there is, we know we're gonna have managers who are totally dissatisfied with our league. That's just the way it goes.
Parents.
Managers who have threatened that we are going to lose many people in the spring, and said so not only to a parent who came to me and told me, but said so to my face. I would like to add verbiage in there that says, if you have something negative to say about this league, don't discuss it with your parents. It's not appropriate. Those parents are our customers, not the manager's customers. They're ours, and they should be bringing any problems or issues that they have to this board, and not to the parents on the team. Very upsetting. I mean,
Yes.
I can't even tell you how rude these 3 particular coaches were to me on Saturday.
Yes, they shouldn't have been rude. And I have already had multiple conversations with James, and I will be meeting him and his coaches, I believe, tomorrow night. So we had good conversations. So they claim that none of them are leaving, but we'll see. Let me talk to them in person, see what they got to say. But yes, if there is issues, people should use the chain of command and talk to people. But you know how people are; they just like to run their mouths and shoot the mouth and typical stuff.
It's really bad that the parents are saying, they're saying they're all leaving. I don't understand why they got kicked off this league, and now they're here, and
Trust me, the Muslim will be back.
For equipment turn-in, can you put on there November 23rd? Please.
Number 20.
That's before Thanksgiving.
One thing I want to add to new business is workshop date. I would like to nail down a date, and I'd rather do it sooner than later.
We need that and for the.
Fine, yes. So,
I'm not available.
for any of it? Well, let's just think about it, and then we'll decide on the dates. No. Let's think, because we got to look at all our calendars and just come to an agreement.
as
So,
long as it's not over break, as long as it's not over.
No, it's gonna not be over Christmas break. No, sure. It's gonna be when everyone's still working in reality.
Like this, yeah, like a Friday night.
Yeah.
Where we don't have to worry about time.
Yes. The financial meeting, yes.
Yes.
Yes. I definitely should be at Brass Ring or Duffy's.
Steve, you're
On
invited.
our own account, of course. Not the
Say
baseball
Duffy's
account.
because they have two for
spend all
ones.
$1,600.
It's possible. But yeah, it's rather sooner than later. So we'll figure that out. I'd like to, at this time, open up the mic to anybody. Once again, we have a roaring crowd out there.
Abe looks like he wants to say something.
Anything to say? What do you want to say?
Make money.
Play softball.
I would like to make a motion to close this wonderful meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.